Welcome to What's on Your Plate podcast. I'm your host, Sarah. Before we dive into today's conversation, I just need to say thank you. Today's episode marks an important milestone in the podcast world of 100 episodes. This would not have been possible without my amazing guests, my dedicated listeners, and to the many likes, reviews, shares, and overall enthusiasm for this space. When I started creating What's on Your Plate podcast, I never dreamed it would become what it is, 100 episodes and over 3 years later. Thank you to all who have contributed or listened in to this space. I hope you have found just a lot of good and transformative content here. Without further ado, I want to welcome my 100th guest, Andre, to the platform. This is going to go against a lot of what we've been told to do in life and in relationships, especially as women, but men should listen up too. Be open to really hearing what is shared here today. If you're honest with yourself, I think it's going to make a lot of sense. It definitely did for me. The challenge will not be in agreeing with or having the conversation resonate, though. It will be in being brave enough to go against societal norms, lean into what you want instead of what people tell you you should want, and getting out of your ego and into your vulnerability enough to do so. I encourage you to stay with this one. Stay till the end. Not just because there's free gifts involved, though there are, but because from start to finish, there are relatable truths that will have you realizing why perhaps you are struggling to find true happiness in your relationships. Let's go. We've been groomed as women to think the opposite of what you're going to say, right? So
Exactly.
it's going to feel confusing to
Right.
a lot of people. I can appreciate what you're conveying, but we'll dig deeper into it as you're sharing those things.
Love it.
So
Love it. Love it.
cool. So I want to introduce Andre Paradis. He is a certified life coach with a mission in life to teach and empower people. He is an entrepreneur, a business owner, and an artist who is focusing his professional energy on teaching singles and couples how to create and maintain successful relationships. Creator of Project Equinox, a mission rooted in alleviating the misunderstanding and pain between men and women and teaching the concept of gender intelligence.
Ooh,
This is a hot topic, and I'm so
I
excited to
know.
dig into it. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You know, when you and I had our initial conversation, I
Yeah.
knew this was going to be an amazing discussion today.
Okay. Nice.
There are going to be a lot of things that we're going to unpack and hit on that are going to feel a little uncomfortable to, I feel like women especially, but this is a platform where we challenge what our beliefs are. We look for ways to grow and evolve in our thought. And this is absolutely on point with
Mm, mm.
the nature of this platform.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, what if, as weird as some of the stuff I want to say make sound or counterintuitive, countercultural, right? I want the ladies, the gentlemen who's always listening to, I call it listen to learn,
Mhm.
as opposed to listen to agree, disagree, right? As humans, when we hear information, we judge it as we hear it. Wait, I don't think that's true. Do I do this? I'm not sure, right? So we question what we're hearing. We listen typically to agree and disagree with what's coming at us. And I want to say, listen to learn. Just turn that off. Listen to learn. Let me finish. And what if, ladies and gentlemen, everything I'm talking about that seems weird and countercultural, what it actually is the what if it explains everything you've been experiencing and confusing you? Because that's all I'm doing here, right? I'm on your side. I'm not. I love women. I love my buds, my man, and the collision, the confusion, the ridiculousness is happening right now. We know exactly why. I decoded it. And by the way, it's not only men and women, it's men, and women as well. Like the relationships who go long term, regardless of gender, all do the same thing. Huh. So just take a moment, listen to learn, and I mean decode all the struggle that you have as opposed to how come women, like forget that crap, right? Let's get into why we're in this shit show. Excuse my French.
I love that you clarified that this is not necessarily pertaining to only heterosexual types of
It's
relationship.
not.
This is
Yeah.
human to human. It's about
Yeah.
energy within the human and how it's transferred to the next human.
Ta-da.
Let's get into it. I'm so
Let's
excited about
go.
this for
Bring it.
sure. So, well, let's give our listeners a little bit of a glimpse of just who you are, your backstory, and you have a
Ugh.
very diverse path that brought you to where you are today, but all seemingly for the purpose of what you do now.
Absolutely. And not at the time when I was younger, it was like, what is all this? Why am I here? What's this crap? Where, where do I fit in? Who am I? So I was born in a family, same thing. We talked about this earlier, but I was at 5 years old, at 5 years old is when most of us come online, I call it. Because before five, and we actually have language, so we can have thoughts, we're all about feelings, right? A 3-year-old who's upset will throw themselves on the ground, and that's how they communicate, right? There's no words. So we're all feelings, from little babies on. But by five, there's enough language, because we start learning at about three, to be able to think. So most of us, about 5 years old, I call it come online. You could actually think about what you're feeling, trying to understand what's happening around you. I would literally come awake. So that's also part of, they say, this factual, the psychology part of my work, that by the age of 7, we're all cooked. The decisions you made about life and yourself and the people around you, or the way you were loved, right or wrong, you take that personally, we all do, and believe I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not right. At 5, by 7, you have enough proof that it's the case, and then we go on the rest of our lives living with that false belief. So it's pretty tragic. Anyway, so
Mhm.
at 5, poof, I realized I was born in the wrong family. I don't belong here. These are not my people. I don't fit in, right? Even the space. I was born in Quebec City, Canada. That was wrong as well. Like there was something really, really, really wrong, but definitely not. These were not my people. 5 years old, terrifying. But what happened to me is I kind of turned my radar outward. I started watching everybody, trying to understand how that's even possible. So I was always a kid in the corner watching everyone, and I watched people since I was 5 years old, and um, became fascinated with the human condition as I'm watching people. Like this guy's a stud, this guy's a geek, this girl's a little loose, this girl is just classy. Like, how do you get to be all right so different? Going anyway. So that to me was amazing. At the age of 23, I started taking personal development classes because I was lacking a whole lot of guidance and sense of self. So I knew my life was there was a reason for it, even though I didn't know, and I had to find out, kind of thing. So I didn't think I was going to be here long after that realization. But then I think my every time I wanted to quit, and I just put it this way, there was always this little tug in my heart that said, "There's something coming. There's something big for you." Okay, another day, another week. Fine, fine. So, um, as I found my way through personal development and transformational work and the workshops after workshop after workshop after workshop, 2006, I find myself invited to a workshop. Workshop people do workshops, and we're like workshop heads. So I was in workshop, and I get invited to another workshop for free. And we're flying back from San Jose. The girl says to me, "Do you want to come? What do you do next weekend? You want to come to a workshop?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." It's on me, she says. I'm like, "Absolutely, right? These could be expensive. I'm going to learn some stuff. I'm curious about everything." Boom. Then I say, "What's the workshop about?" She's like, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." Now, when I tell the story to my friends, like, "Dude, there's no such thing." They don't even know anything about themselves. They're confused about their own selves. Never mind understanding women. What the hell? You're going to waste your weekend in a workshop understanding women. I'm like, well, yeah. Well, I said I was going to go. I keep my word. To me, it was not, my reaction was more like, not that there's no such thing. It was more like, my life with the ladies was always easy. I've always attracted sweet women. Like, always. You meet my wife, you go, oh, right? Like, that was always my go-to. So I didn't do the stuff my friends did, the yelling, the screaming, the confusion. It was smooth. I seemed to bring out the best out of them. Now, I didn't know why and how. I do now because of the workshops. Um, so I went there kind of sideways, but I went. I walked into space Saturday morning, 400 people in the space. Oh, because I thought it was gonna be cute, right? I remember walking and going, not cute. Something's going on here. So there was a presence, there was energy in the air. This was something to pay attention to. So all I can tell you in a workshop called Understanding Women, from a space of a guy who thinks he understands women because doesn't challenge, it's I have an ease with that, all of that. I fell off my chair 7 times during that workshop, like slipped off of my chair with disbelief of the things I was learning. So not only was it educative, but it was like I realized first, like I mean, at the end of the workshop, my brain was all over the walls. Like I could not believe what I was hearing. And the teacher was very smart. She would stop. She would drop a bomb about something that we can't conceive as men. She would drop the bomb and say, "Just so you don't think it's me up in the front who's crazy, check with the ladies next to you. Let's take a 5 minute break and check with the ladies around you, because there was ladies in the workshop as well." And a 19-year-old next to me. I'll never forget. And like bomb, and then like I go, "No, yeah, but that's ridiculous. It's impossible." Yeah, well, kind of is how we do it. But that would make me crazy. Uh-huh. Sometimes we feel crazy. Like 7 times, at least. Mind blown. And what happened is I realized first I knew nothing about women, the way you operate, what motivates you, the way you process information, feelings. Like we have a sense we're different, but this was like, all right. So at the time I'm married, we have 2 little kids, everything's fine. I'm not looking for any of this. But I realized if I know nothing about women, that means I know nothing about my wife. And that to me was a liability. All my siblings, the people that I don't belong to, but my blood relatives are all divorced and remarried, 2, 3, one's on 4. I have my life, I have my wife, I have my babies, I have my family. I'm not going to be a statistic because I didn't know, right? That's my brain. And my curious, want to eat everything up brain went to work and took all their workshops and became on track to be a workshop leader because I'm a teacher. It's a very easy jump over. And I ended up not wanting to work with them that way, too much politics, but I continued my research with John Gray, Mars and Venus, Esther Perel, who's a French therapist in New York City, if you know. She was nobody at the time. Now she's actually quite famous online. Shanti Felhan, the dynamic, love and respect for men and women. And then Dr. Pat Allen, who's a family child marriage therapist here in Los Angeles, had her own school in private. And I was spent 3.5 years with Dr. Allen, 46 years of therapy work with men and women in relationships and marriage. 3.5 years I spent with her, with 3 other people, sometimes 4, learning everything she learned in 46 years of her career. So that's how we got to be here. 2009, I started the company, Project Equinox. And this is my life ever since. I help men and women, men, women in their in understanding each other and understanding the dynamic that works best to create long-term relationships.
But you're doing it in a different way. You have an entirely different approach and mindset to why people are on their second, third, fourth relationships. It's not something that I know that I have heard in as detail as I did in our previous conversation.
Yeah.
And I just really want to get into that. I really want,
Okay.
I'm just so excited. And we started this conversation talking about this could be like a really long conversation and
Yeah.
it could go on forever.
Yep.
Just with all the many layers. And I really want to just say what it is. Just tell me, the dance analogy is something that I felt really connected with when you described that in our recent discussion outside of this one today.
Like this?
Yeah, that exact picture behind you. So yeah,
Yep.
like our YouTube watchers, that is something to give you a visual of the way that you're decoding the dance. The dance analogy of how it helped develop your approach to relationships, complementary, not equality.
Ta-da.
That's going to be a big one for people. We're not talking about equality here.
Right. Well, equality, like I said, the problem with equality, it started out, in the 60s, 70s, it was like giving women choice. You want to be a housewife? Go for it. Right? That was a classic role. But if you want to be a businesswoman, whatever. We open all those channels, right? Now in the culture, you could do whatever you want, anything you want. You've proven you can do absolutely everything. Okay. Why is it so hard then? Why is it so complicated? Why is it not working? So what happened is the idea of opportunity or equal opportunity turned into equality across the board, and it turned into men and women should be the same. So a man is supposed to be sweet, sensitive, vulnerable, talk, 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 talk like your girlfriend. That's never going to happen if he's any kind of normal male. It's not going to happen. This is what, we collide against. And, when you empower women, which is great for money in business, but strong, independent, and powerful does not blend well with masculinity because it's man on man. So strong, independent, and powerful, as popular as it is, right? So is the paradigm of man on man. And if you understand the nature, everything is nature is polarized. There's a masculine, feminine, there's a yin yang, there's a positive magnet, a negative magnet, there's a black and white. One cannot exist without the other. And the polarity, the more polarized, the more this pole. That's the dynamic of relationships. Magnetized because we bring two different pieces to the relationship. My strengths are different than my wife's strengths. But put us together, boom, right? Power couple in ways that we complement and we complement her to each other. What she does naturally is different than what I do naturally. What she's willing to do naturally is different than what I'm willing to do naturally. And there's all the negotiating in between, right? But the dance itself is the part that people are confused because again, if you neutralize polarity, you neutralize the energy between the couple, and these things don't last. People literally fade away. They'll say stuff like, we grew apart. I'm like, did you? And when we decode it, it's not they grew apart, it's they neutralize the sensual sexual energy by being the same energy. So strong, independent women live in their masculine energy. Masculine men aren't interested in that. That's actually quite irritating. So these ladies end up with soft boys, right? That they can't respect after a few months or years. So that doesn't work. So they all fail. The new modern way of inside out, right? I call it backwards of nature. Masculine woman, feminine man, even though there's polarity, they don't last. They just don't last. There's a lot of data on this. She loses respect for him. He's a noodle. She does all the work. She does everything. She's happy about it till she's tired of it, right? And so trying to find herself a man who's going to step up. But if you're in your masculine energy, the men don't aren't magnetized to that energy. Men are not attracted to masculine energy. Men have no instinct to take care and help other men. You understand that? But
I understand what
feminine
you're
energy,
describing. Mhm.
right? So feminine energy is a magnet for us, right? Like that's the yin to my yang, right? So, but in our culture, we kind of teach the ladies that, femininity is weak and it's pointless, it's going to get you nowhere. Get to work, go boss babe, and try to find yourself a nice guy. A nice guy you don't respect, you put in the friend zone. So everything that's normal out there is actually making it more difficult if you don't think it through and see where it's coming from. I could do this all day long. Your turn.
Well, there's a lot that you said there that I have a lot of thoughts about. One is I just want to clarify again for
Yes.
our listeners that when you're talking about men not being attracted to men or women not being attracted to women, it's not about genitals. It's about
No.
the energy, right?
Yes.
So that's to just clarify again. But
Thank you.
then, second, I also want to ask you about that boss babe mentality, right?
Hmm.
Because I feel like that is absolutely very normalized in our culture to like go out
Yep.
there and own it and kill it and work it and be that boss babe mentality, right? And
Yep.
that I feel like has developed as a result of necessity in a lot of ways, right? Or if not
Oh.
necessity, as a
Mhm.
way of needing to like have an empowerment, but it's pulled us away from those natural nurturing and natural energies that are feminine. You talked
Mhm.
before about that being okay outside the house or outside of the relationship, but it
Yes.
doesn't work in the relationship. So, does that translate to you as having to be like two personas in one? How do you
Well,
unpack that as a woman?
beautiful, beautiful. Good question. So you understand that as men and women, we also have both masculine and feminine within us.
Yes.
And again, so there's four people in the relationship. You get it? There's four people. There's his feminine, his masculine, her feminine, her masculine.
Hmm.
Now, again, if we're going to keep the polarity going, nature, again, if you go against nature, you'll pay somewhere down the line and it's going to hurt. That, and I'll explain later, maybe if I have an example. But what happened is with me as a man, I lead, right? I like to take the lead on everything. I manage everything. I make everything work. I fix, I push, I compete, I fight, I build my life, right? Makes me confident, right? Build my character, makes me a man who's capable. And a man who does this, natural male, by the way, not all men do this. There's four types of men in my world. The boys don't do any of that. But the man, that's what they're wired. That's what they pride themselves in to be relevant in the world, build something that's hard, and those are the guys who want family and children. They want wives and to leave a legacy as their children, build a kingdom, put their arms around it and go, look at me go. Look what I did. There's a huge amount of pride for that, for man. Right? So masculine, so again, so if I take back the example of the ballroom couple, by the way, that was part of my career number two. I was a ballroom dancer into a commercial jazz dancer. I danced with Michael Jackson, Prince, Paul Abdul, like Julio Iglesias, like the master. So I made it all the way to the top dancing. But I'm telling you, you put a girl in my arms in the past 20 years has been my wife. As a lead, I have to lead her, obviously, because otherwise she needs my leadership. However, my again, the yin yang in my body, right? I have to lead her with sensitivities because I could overlead her. I could crank her shoulders. I could actually hurt her. You see it? Same in
Hmm.
relationships.
Hmm.
So I lead with sensitivities. As we're dancing, like there's no talking, right? It's in the communication with the fingers, right? That she understands this is Lego, this is coming like this. The energy, right? So I'm very sensitive to her stance. She's very sensitive to my, and I respond to her as she responds to me. It's absolutely beautiful. Very subtle. That's not what you see, right? So if I'm going to be leading with sensitivities, which is the only way she's going to want to dance with me, duh, right? Same in relationship. If you're a dick, she ain't dancing with you, right? So men know this, right? I'm going to lead. I want to be a man, but I have to be also what I call the daddy energy, right? The soft energy, the more feminine energy, the nurturing energy that we have as fathers and husband, right? So as I lead her with sensitivities, she now can trust that she's not going to get hurt, that she's not going to get spun into a wall or a table and the couple, right? She has to completely let go, right? And trust that I got her. And in that, she can relinquish control, relax into her feminine, and she lights up like a light bulb. And as I'm leading her, and she's vulnerable to my leadership because she trusts, right? No one's looking at me. No one's looking at me. They're all looking at her. The magnetism, the radiance of a feminine woman, when you let go, is what is the magic of you and your body and your femininity. So I lead with sensitivities, which allows her to be vulnerable to my leadership, right? And be able to be in the flow and have to control anything, which is the ultimate femininity. And in that, right? And in that, there's a yin yang. That's the dance. And her role is not passive, by the way, because women always say that to me, right? That, we have to like acquiesce to the man. No, no, but there's a yin yang. There's a let him lead, and when he goes too far, you ask for adjustment. And there's a language for that I teach. I call Manglish. But my wife, when I'm dancing with her, she's not passive. She has to hold her frame very much so we understand the communication. She's doing everything backwards in a dress and high heels. It's not easier. It's different. But together, glide on the floor, and people are like, wow. A ballroom couple gliding, they're two in one. That new entity is marvelous to look at energetically and visually. That's a
Hmm.
healthy relationship. That's what I have in my wife, and that's what I'm teaching. There's a way to do this when you understand how it works. So,
And I absolutely can appreciate that in the scope of this conversation. While it's a beautiful visual, we're not talking about actual dancing. we're talking about how you've crafted that way of performing, so to speak, into your relationship. Not performing as if it
Yeah.
is not true or real, but that yin and yang, like you're describing, that give and the take, and you have to be a certain way of being so she can show up and be the way that she's meant to be, and it has to
Yep.
be a very harmonious, mutual way of doing that in order for people not to be tripping over their feet.
Right. Right. I mean, it's really understanding, what I'm teaching is nature science, anthropology, the psychology of our psychology, and then the nature of the chemistry of our bodies and brains. And when you understand we're not the same, we're
Mhm.
complementary. My brain, the way I processed what's interesting to me, what motivates me is totally different than my wife. You think I'm not going to make her wrong for that, but in our culture, ladies make us wrong for being men. So the problem that I have, and I feel bad for the ladies because I see it all day long. All my clients have bought into this concept that men are dangerous and toxic. You can't trust them. They're cheaters anyway. So there's a lot of fear mongering, right? Why would you, if you actually believe that, which is everywhere, if you make half the planet the enemy, there it is. Do you know what I mean? If you can't trust, you can't let go, you can be vulnerable. You don't believe, that you think the men are toxic, dangerous, and cheaters. It's a lot easier at that point than to build a career than to build a relationship. But is it better? In the end, all my clients at 30 plus realize that money doesn't make them happy. They're tired, they're burnt out, they want to pull back. They can't. They have a house and a car. La, 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 la. Now they're painting themselves in the corner. They're masculine, so masculine men don't see them, right? And now they're starting to suffer. Like, I don't want this, right? My mother told me I should. My schools, my girlfriends, everybody said I should be independent. But for most ladies, it doesn't. It's not what they want in the end when they come out on the other side. Like when reality hits a little bit later in life, they realize like, well, and then they try to look for relationships, somebody to help. But being in your masculine for 25 years, masculine men go, nope. Nope. And you think, I don't understand. I'm pretty, I'm young, I have money, I have a car, I have everything. I'm no trouble. How come nobody wants to be with me, date me, even ask me out? And if I get a date, I get ghosted. I can't get a second date. I'm like, because you're the man. It's not your fault. It's how you were trained, and that's where you pride yourself in. And that means you know nothing about the nature of men, traditional men who want to provide, protect, cherish, give support, right? So it's I feel bad because you get all sucked into that, and it's causing a lot more pain than happiness down the road. And
For
men
sure.
also, and men are confused. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to get bossed around, pushed around. I'm not going to be fighting when I go. Men want peace in relationships and, companionship. So if you're going to be combative because you're masculine, like, men give up. Statistic, I'm a
Mhm.
statistic freak. Are you ready? 63% of men in the United States, age 30 and lower, 63% of men in the United States in 30-year-old and younger don't date, don't want to date, don't want relationships, want nothing to do with his ladies. Ouch. There it is. Not my opinion. This is the data, right? So this is what the problem is. That women say, where are the good men? How come they don't step up? Well, for the past 50 years, you said men aren't shit. And, you can't trust them. And like I said, the fear mongering has kind of destroyed every possibility. So if you treat men poorly and expect them to show up nicely, there it is, right?
Well, I feel like what comes to mind for me with those points that you recently made is women are kind of groomed and conditioned to show up as that authority in their
Yep.
lives.
Mhm.
And it's been a cycle, right? Because a lot of us were raised by single moms who had to like be both male and female energy.
Yep.
And it was very much a don't rely on anybody else, take care of your own needs and you
There it
don't
is.
need a
Yep.
man to
Okay.
like
There
I've
it
lived
is.
it, right? Raised by a
Yeah.
single mom.
There it
Um,
is.
so yeah, there it is, exactly. And showing up in my own life for sure in a way that has that same type of approach to things, like fuck you, I can do it myself kind of thing.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
For sure has had its downfalls. I'll admit it right here. But at the same time, how do you get away from that when you know that it isn't serving you in a way that is connective in your relationships? When you know it is limiting your ability to be intimate and deep with somebody,
Yeah.
not even just in the physical sense, but in a just let's pull back the layers of the into me see way of
Mm.
thinking of intimacy. How do we get away from that as women who have been groomed to think that we can handle life without help or the support of male energy?
Well, I mean, like I said, that's the injury, right? So we talked about just in the beginning, at the age of 5, we come online. We realize if you weren't, most of all of us, nobody gets out of childhood unscathed, right? Like we come out of, by 5 years old, we made decisions about ourselves, the world, people, and in life. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough, right? I'm never going to amount to anything, right? For women, I'm not lovable. It's a huge one, right? So if you believe it, that becomes your programming, right? It's the first imprint of your computer hard drive. You can put some apps and upload all kinds of stuff on top of it, but that's the driver. And again, we are not realizing we're doing this. We forgot that belief. We just believe it. And then we go confirm it out in the world, right? So I'm saying if you're a woman who wakes up at the age of 30 something plus and realize that all your choices are not really making you happy, and you realize it's harder, you feel alone, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're anxious, right? You're carrying too much, you're stuck in your masculine. Now, my job is to go back to childhood to find out where the wheels came off. And it's always, for the ladies, no daddy, bad daddy, alcoholic daddy, missing daddy, right? It's because your daddy is your first love affair. So women who don't have fathers don't know anything about men. They don't understand the leadership of man. They don't respect the leadership of man. They fight with the leadership of man because they were raised to be independent and strong, like mom, who's mama bear. So mama bear is masculine as hell, by the way. So a young girl without a dad first cannot create her first dynamic love affair with men because there's no men there. And she's trained and role models after mom, who's a beast, who's masculine as hell. So she role model, so becomes more masculine. But in the end, what the problem is, you can't relate to men. You don't understand men. You don't respect men. You don't respect their leadership. You just fight against all of it like they have no right. You don't like, so it's not even, it's like, what's that line? Like a Chinese baby, a Chinese kid, if by the age of 6 have never heard the R sound, can never ever say it. This is the same thing. If you've never been around men, never had a good daddy, and understand the appropriate masculinity and the protection that brings, and to be able to like revel, and relax into it, so you could be a girl. If you never experienced that, you can't do it. So if you're 35 years old and you realize, you want to relax, you want relationships, you want the life that you want, and it's not happening for all the stuff that you were taught, right? The work, we have to go back to the source. We have to like release the trauma from your nervous system. I do this with NLP. Release the trauma from your childhood and the relationship that came after to confirm you're not worthy, you're not good enough. Release that from your nervous system and your subconscious so you could actually be present and make some choice. And it's the same thing with soft men, by the way. No daddy role model raised by mama bear who castrate them into being sweet, sensitive, talkative, the nice guy, smell good. Do you know what I mean? And on the other side, we're like, dude, just man up. That's very toxic. Really? Like women can't respect those nice guys. So we have to stop the bullshit of strong independent is the way to go all the time. And sweet sensitive on the other side is the new normal. It doesn't work. And there's an in between, by the way, right? I'm not saying like it's not what is it? It's not a dictatorship. It's a dance. We have to come together and create our own dance, our own relationships. So there's a way to do this that works for both. That's more in line with our essence, our bodies, testosterone brain, estrogen brain, two different beasts. How do we blend that together? What's important to me is not important to her. What I think is really cool, she's like, really? And vice versa. So we keep trying to neutralize each other, trying to make the other one act like us. And that, because of the damn culture and 50-50 is the new normal, it's a shit show for a relationship. People collide hard and they walk away and they don't know what happened. Oof, you got me going. You got me going.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like it's not. It's not, when you're talking about it so matter of factly and passionately like you are, it is not hard to agree with what you're saying, right? Even
Mm,
as somebody that does feel like I have masculine energy as more dominant than feminine energy, just based, I mean, you
yeah.
basically just described me when you were talking
Mm,
about the daddy relationship disconnect and raised by a boss mom and all that kind of thing and how that translates into adulthood. So I see it even in myself. I can admit that. And it doesn't seem impossible or even hard to understand what you're describing as why that is problematic and
yeah.
why so many relationships over the last several generations have been failing because there is this power struggle.
Yep.
Um, I mean, it's very clear to me when you're describing it like that.
I
But what I
appreciate that.
do, yeah, I mean, I'm not so in my ego that I can't like see those things about myself, right? Because as women who go out into the world and are trying to be that boss babe type of mentality, right? Whatever that
Hmm.
translates to you as that success and that power in your own life, but then wanting to come home and be nurtured and held and cared for and protected, like that's kind of conflicting, right?
Two different
Confusing.
beasts,
Yeah,
masculine and feminine within the same body. That's it, the
right.
tug of war, right?
But at the same time, I also am of the mindset of I don't want to just be the little woman, right? I don't
Oh
want to
man.
just
So
like be
okay,
oppressed. Right. Well,
well,
this is me
okay.
pushing back, so
Yeah, no, no, please bring it because that's if people think I'm full of crap, then they stop listening, and I'm not. I am not. I teach what works. I teach what things the people who have successful relationship again with all gender. That's what they do.
right.
We study actually it's a gay couple that taught us how this works because some gay couples kill each other and some like fly for 30 years. Like there's two sets of men here that I know in Los Angeles that are friends of mine that have been together 30 years. Really interesting to watch them be together. But guess what
Mhm.
happens? One's more masculine, one's more feminine. The yin
Right.
yang between them is in place. One likes to lead, is extroverted. The other one doesn't want to lead, is introverted. He's
Hmm.
comfortable being introverted. The other one's comfortable being extroverted. Together, fantastic. It's the same in business, by the way. You know what I mean? You need like another example I can give you later, but it's what it is. So when women are masculine and men are masculine, right, the yin yang is gone. So I mean, it's not about also. It's the mix. It's the negotiation in between, right? So there's a polarity in my house. I'm the man, but I'm a daddy energy. I have two kids, right? So the man at work is different than the guy in the house. Men have two worlds. Women have one world. So the connectivity that you have to feel good all the time, whether you're at work or, with the mailman or the store, like that connectivity that makes you feel safe, that kind of drives you constantly. We don't have that. So when I'm at work, I'm a warrior. When I'm home, I'm not, right? I turn into daddy energy, lover energy, right? Softer energy, nothing to produce energy. It's two different worlds. So again, not knowing that exists is the problem if you don't have a father. You never experience that safety. Do you know what I mean?
A tangible, real example that we can visualize of what it
Good.
means to be a confident woman in the world too, but also soft and feminine at home.
But okay, I'll give you an example. My very own wife. So she's a ballerina. Like I said, we met dancing. That's why we still dance today. That's how we connect. That's why we bond, right? Every week we'll go dancing and have a date. So she's been dancing since 6 years old. She's been a ballerina her whole life. That's her dream. That's her passion. That's what she was born to do. So, and she still does. However, she has her life set up because I'm the one providing most of everything. Right? She makes some money, but she works part-time. She now works in a college twice, 3 times a week, depending on the semester, because it's different production they have. Part-time. All the benefits, gets paid really well, part-time. And the rest of the time, she could be a mom and a wife and take care of the nest because a woman, you know this, if a woman that has space to take care of the nest, you get stressed out even more, right? Home is different for you than it is for us. Men don't know this. Let that go. Let the laundry sit there, and then she goes crazy, right? So, like, if you don't have, women who have full-time jobs and try to come home to manage that, if they have, husband and children, it's two full-time jobs.
Mhm.
These women typically are not happy. They come at me throughout the year, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I should be very grateful and happy. I have everything, and I'm not because it's too much. You burn out. You're exhausted. It sort of kills you. Anyway, so my wife is a ballerina. She teaches the colors 2, 3 times a week, depending on the semester. But she was there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I was working 12-hour jobs. I had a car business. I was working 12-hour shifts. She was there at 3 o'clock to pick them up in school. Right? She would take him home, give him a snack, do their homework. You know what I mean? She gets to be living her passion and her dream. She's mentoring young dancers into the world of dancing and her life's purpose. She lives, but she's also able and has a space to be a mom and a wife. That's having it all. That's what I'm suggesting, right? So, but if you're a boss babe and you don't trust men from all the stuff that came at you and your own experiences, you lean in so hard that the other part falls off. So another way to say it is you can be in both lanes. You want to start in the money lane, your love lane's going to suffer. If you start in the love lane, your money lane's going to suffer for a little while, but you can catch it later. These are the women who have it all. But you can't do both at the same time. It won't work. You're both going to be neglected, and you're going to have a fraction of the result that you want, and you feel like a failure. This is what they teach women nowadays. Both lanes, but very, very quickly, most women let go of the love lane because they're so busy building the money lane. And then at 30 plus, they become my clients. What's wrong with me? I have everything. Nobody wants it. I want to relax. There's a way, excuse me, there's a way to have it all, but backwards from what's out there. But again, if you can't be vulnerable and open and trust men, we have to fix that first. Because if you can't, you can't, and it'll never happen. And you'll think there's something wrong with men or something wrong with you. Both are unnecessary. I'm just saying, like, right? It's so people who step up, who do the work, are the ones who get the lives that they want. I have a 69-year-old lady who just got married. At 67, boss babe, abused by her dad, and like really horrible abuse, right? So couldn't trust men from the age of 6 forward, right? Married a couple of toxic guys, had a couple of kids, but divorced. Anyway, so she's at her she was 67 years old when she joined me. And she's living in a house in Texas by herself, boss babe, right? School teacher, but like a therapist. Um, and her friend is like, she had a friend over, and her friend's like, "So, this is how you're gonna finish?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You've been alone for 30 years, in this house for 20. This is how you're gonna finish? It's the rest of your life?" And it kind of smacked him in the head and realized at 67, she's thin, she's fit, she's feisty, she's in good health and wide awake. She says, I realized probably I have another 25 years, maybe more. Like a quarter of my life is still coming. Do I want to live it like this? Hell no. I'm lonely and stressed out and constantly aware of the noise around the house at night, especially, right? Like that's the feminine, not feeling safe. So that's
Mhm.
where she found me and hired me. She just got married last summer, 69. So the idea of, men want only younger women, bullshit. There's two stages of life that are completely different. That's part of the work that I teach. Um, Men in the younger part of life, get this is hysterical. Men in the younger part of life, young men, testosterone driven young men, up to 45 years old, testosterone driven. And men, this is going to be crass, but it's funny, it's true. Men say stuff like, you know, we want to be in a relationship with women who will leave us alone. Don't boss me around. Don't tell me what to do. Don't try to change me. That pisses them off. It's disrespectful, right? So I love you. I married you. Go with me. Trust me, right? Like ask for correction as needed. That's what I teach because it's really difficult to do for most women with a male who's big, loud, controlling. There's a way to do all this, by the way. Men will actually adjust and change if you know how to approach him. respectfully. So I call it, again, Manglish. You have to learn Manglish. And yes, to learn women English as well, but the respect that he needs in the conversation, the way you approach him is crucial for him to like, adjust for you or have a fight with you. Most don't know how to do this. So by the time you approach him, you're mad, right? You have the tone, you have the attitude, you have you attack him. You forget that you're dealing with a warrior. Attack a warrior, he's going to push back. Now he has to defend himself from you. He pushes back, even if you're right, right? And now you think he's a real jerk. See, I try to talk to him, and he doesn't want to hear it. No, you attacked him, right? You waited too long. Anyway, I'm not making anybody wrong. I'm saying this is typically what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So he's feeling attacked because of the way you're approaching him.
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the distinction. That's a distinction that doesn't work. If but by the time you get to him and you're frustrated, right? This is not how you approach a man. You will not get anything out of him that's good, and you'll think he's a jerk. So there's a way to do this on both sides. And that's the part that we don't understand. Like we really don't understand. You understand that men and women speak and listen to each other completely differently. It sounds insane. Because you're looking at me, you hear the words that come out of my mouth. We speak English. What you hear is not what I said, and what you say is not what I hear. We have two different filters, and it's the communication part that I teach that we're blind to and causes so much frustration and chaos. How many times would you hear women say, "It's not what you said, it's the way you said it"? What the hell does that mean? I listen to the words and I'm saying, but the way you said it hurt my feelings. Like, I'm frustrated, so you're gonna hear frustration. Forget the tone, listen to what I'm saying. But just raising my voice like this makes her shut down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we do this to each other, we don't even know. We get really frustrated. So another part of the work is understanding men and what how they operate and what you have to approach them. Essentially, this is gonna sound weird, but it's just the data and the facts again. If you don't respect a man first, he cannot cherish you. You have to respect him first, right? You have to respect him first. If you don't change him, don't push on him, don't try to control him, don't lean in, don't mother him, he's gonna step right back. So men have to feel respected to love you. And then on the flip side, if you don't feel loved by him, you can't respect him. We both need both, but they're in the important is backward as far as the priorities of it. If you don't feel love, you can't respect them. But if you don't respect them, you can't love you and cherish you. You won't. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
I see what I see what you're describing, and I understand it, and I believe a lot of it. But what I want you to explain to us is why, from the woman's perspective, at least mine, and how I know it will be received by other women like me, why does it feel like it's the woman that has to conform?
It's not true. That's not what I said. No, I'm talking to you. You're a woman. I'm explaining to you the woman's side. So I'm saying, so it sounds like I'm saying you have to change, you have to adjust, you have to learn.
Right. Well, that's what I hear.
Right, well, because I'm talking to you. That's why I'm talking to you, right? So if I was talking to a man, it'd be a whole different conversation. And I'll give you an example. A guy called me, God, a couple years ago, right? He referred by a friend of a friend. The guy, he says, apparently you got some shit. I'm like, okay, what's up? He goes, well, my lovely, lovely, beautiful wife of 10 years, was always a sweetheart, was always my biggest supporter and fan, and loved the hell out of me. I go, well, okay, what's the problem? He goes, we've been married 10 years. He goes, now when I come home, she looks at me and goes, oh, it's you. And goes in the kitchen. He goes, she freaking hates me. I don't know what's wrong. He goes, I go to work every day. I pay for everything. I come home every day. I'm not a cheater. I do everything I'm supposed to do. Why does she hate me? And I laughed. I'm like, you dumbass. That's what I wanted to say. But I go, promise you, your lovely wife now feels taken for granted. Doesn't feel like you care. You don't talk to her enough, right? You don't share your days or some of what's going on with her. So she feels disconnected, which makes her feel unsafe, makes her feel very insecure. She doesn't know what you're thinking about, makes her crazy. right? You're not really, you're just showing up after work and go, here, what's dinner? Like women need constant, a little bit of connection to feel safe and to feel safe with a man. So you have to spend 10 minutes when you come home and go, how was your day? What, really? I go, yeah, dumbass. Right? Because she's disconnected from you. And if you just sit down and go, where's dinner? You're not aware, you're not appreciating everything she does in the house. All it took to make dinner, dude, wake the hell up, right? He goes, I work all day. Yeah, so does she. But if you don't connect with her, if you don't, feel make her, she needs to connect by talking to feel safe and cherished. And if you just, if you don't, she starts thinking you don't care, you don't love her. And now she goes into, this is a standard female thing. When you don't know what's happening with him, he's not talking to you. You go into, well, then who's he talking to? And is he thinking to leave me? And you go down the bunny hole.
Mm.
And so he comes home, she hates him. I get it. I said, so what am I supposed to do? I go, you gotta learn. And what I do is, again, it's interesting because both men and women don't have to learn this. As long as one gets what's happening on the other side and does what instinctively brings out the best out of a man or woman, the relationship flies. So
That's
you
really
never,
interesting that
it's
it
very
doesn't have to be
interesting.
both like
It does,
showing up and learning.
nope, it doesn't. Which is why this is so much fun because we just need somebody to step in for their entire relationships and how they create relationships changes. So she knew nothing about this. He stepped up, put his money down. I want my wife back. Boom. Okay, let's go.
Mm.
And I said, I called it, I have the owner's manual for women that I teach men. I have the owner's manual for men that I teach women. I have the owner's manual. I'm not kidding. I'm not being crass. Like this is not that hard. When you understand instinctively what drives a woman, right? You now know what to do to bring out the best in her. And when she feels safe and connected and cherished and can, that she's on some level, she's the only one that you really care for and live for on some level, right? Like that she feels safe in the fact that you picked her and you keep picking her. And then she can relax, and then she becomes more like the tension releases from her body, which makes her more feminine. That warmth is now what he comes home to, as opposed to that rigid, cold, you know, right? And so on the other side of the work, like I said, she did none of it. He did, right? And on the other side of the work, you know, we check in once in a while because I don't let my clients go ever. They're always part of my life. They're all my kids. And last time I checked with him, I said, how's it going? He goes, dude, I got my wife back. It gives me goosebumps. I got my wife back. He goes, not only that, but sometimes she greets me at the door with a glass of wine. Thank you, man. I'm like, you're welcome. But you did the work.
But the difference of what he's experiencing versus, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, but it
Yeah. God,
has
yeah. Yeah,
so the
yeah, yeah.
scene with the couple where she greets him at the door with the plate and a beer, and he takes it and goes and sits in front of the TV, right? So the
That's not
difference
it.
between that, yeah, that's what I mean. But I want
That's
to
not
like
it.
compare it because it's not that. I want to compare it and just highlight the fact that that's not what you're teaching. That's not what you
No.
mean. You are showing that client that you just described how to make her want to do that, not just because she
Bring,
feels
br-
like she should.
right. Like, so she loves him, feels loved and cherished by him. She's connected. She feels safe. A woman to feel safe, you bring out the best in her. By the
Mhm.
way, I found out after years of training why I always attracted sweet women my entire life. And they told me in workshop after workshop, it really feels safe to be with you. I feel safe with you. I feel safe with you. I feel safe. And I'm like, and now I don't know how to do that. Honestly, I'm personable. I look people in the eyes, and when you talk to me, I listen. So I don't know. I think it's a version of it. But what happened is me making women feel safe with me, all women, my entire life, brought out the best in him. And they would treat me well and kindly and lovely and feminine and da 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 da. So there it is again. It's not that hard, but you have to
Mhm.
get how that works. Do you know what I mean? Lifestyle, because when you're good, I'm good. When you're happy, we're happy, right? And this is when you bring us peace. But you have to be in a
Mhm.
space of feeling good, being in your bodies, being present, and no anxiety, no stress, or low anxiety and stress, so you can be feminine. And that warmth, that magnetic energy that brings us forward. It's not that
Hmm.
hard. That's the
Right.
opposite of boss babe, though.
Well, and that's one of the things I was going to say. I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to circle back to something about that safety feeling in a second too, but right on the heels of what you just said there, about that boss babe mentality where women feel like they have to go out and create that safety and security and predictability and all of that on their own because they've been groomed to think that they have to, or they've experienced something that has made them
Yep.
believe that they have to, right?
Yep.
So for them to surrender that, right? To lessen the grip on that type of mindset and let the masculine energy in the relationship lead is a lot of, well, it's taking putting the
Scary.
trust into somebody else, right? Which is
Scary.
hugely
Scary.
scary, hugely riskful in what they know to be true in their mind, right? Um, but when they do that, when they allow that vulnerability,
Magic.
they're really getting what they truly want because at the end of the day, and I can relate to this, like if you're going out and doing all those things that I just described, it doesn't mean that you're happy at the end of the day. And it
All
doesn't
my
mean you're getting
clients,
what you need.
all my clients, I have everything. How come I'm unhappy and nobody wants to date me? I'm tired.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized at 32, like, I think I want babies. Never wanted that before. I was too busy being a boss.
Uh-huh.
Now, I mean, that's a big freaking deal, right? Like, so I always say, like, think for yourself. What do you want? Forget the culture. Forget your mother who made terrible choices. Forget all that shit. If you want to be, my assistant is 28 years old in Los Angeles. She wants a traditional life. She wants 3 kids, and she cannot say that out loud. Women attack her. And she's so feminine, like, she can't take it, right? Girl, we need to talk. You're better to be some slave to some man and kids will ruin your life. She's like, can you just drop dead and leave me alone? But so she learned to like not be able to say that. Like so women aren't even allowed to be traditional or want traditional things nowadays. She's a betrayal to the sisterhood. Oh, we don't even know man. How in the hell is this going to end up well? But that's a problem, right?
Mhm.
So understanding women later in life, they realize their nature wants to feel safe, feel cherished, feel connected, get some support, right? This is what men want to do naturally, by the way. No manipulation needed. Do you understand how beautiful that is? That's what we want to do. We want to be your heroes. But you have to let us. And you have to be vulnerable enough to let us. And so when you're in your masculine, right, controlling everything in your life is exact opposite of vulnerability. He will control. You have to be vulnerable to his leadership. Like my wife dancing, she has to let me lead. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. And again, it's interesting because in the beginning, because she's a ballerina, right? Ballerina is very rigid, it's very linear, right? She's completely in charge of her body at all times. So when I come in and try to dance with her, she tries to lead. She tries to help. She's not trying to lead, she's trying to help, which is a version of not following, right? Or not allowing me to lead her. And, this is when you get the elbow to the nose as the lead or the knee to the groin. Been there. So I used to dance with her in the beginning because she's in charge of her own body, right? She's a ballerina. Beautiful. But I would dance with her, we go like this. Let me lead. Stiff it up. Let me lead. Let me lead. Relax. I got it. And you can't relax. And she can't enjoy it as long as she's trying to help me. She can't enjoy it because there's this
Mhm.
tension between us, right? Let me lead. Let me lead. Let me lead. Like, stop. And it took a while for her to kind of trust and be vulnerable to me leadership to understand the goodies of how she felt when she allowed herself to be in that space of no control, open vulnerability, feeling safe, right? And then
Mhm.
sip into a feminine. And literally, I'm telling you, no one's looking at me. I seemingly do all the work and she gets all the glory. And I love it. It's not that hard. None of it is that hard. But that's not what's out there.
When we again take that dance analogy and translate it into our relationships and her allowing herself to trust, her allowing you to lead, and for her to accept that leadership, right?
Hmm.
It's something it really just has me
It's a kick in the
pulling
head.
through a lot of different layers. I mean,
Yeah.
I can certainly comprehend it and even appreciate and want that type of thing.
Yep.
But something you said earlier in the conversation that I have to ask about that. You had said
Yes.
about women having one version and men having two.
Yes.
And why is it that it would be hard for women to be that boss babe outside of the home, like the men are in authority of their professional lives outside of the home,
Hmm.
and not be able to set it down in the same way as a man does when he walks in the house?
Well, I think we'll go back to chemistry of our bodies and our brain, right? For us, male testosterone, we have 15 to 30% more testosterone than you do. That's the jet fuel to compete, to fight, to push, right? So that's what, and by the way, by the time when we get competitive at work or in any other way, whether it's racing cars or playing any kind of game, we're competitive. It's to us, it's tantalizing. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. And even if I lose, it was fun getting there. Do you know what I mean? And next time I want to get you, right? But like testosterone has this push and invigorates us. It makes us sharper, faster, more productive at work, right? And the benefits when you win is like high five, huge amount of dopamine, which is our drug of choice. And then that we're like, good day, man. That was awesome, right? Whether it's a game or whatever. So that's this. So when we come home and stop competing, daddy energy, husband energy, right? Like I don't drive my kids. Some guys do, but they're clueless. But as a rule, like men have a completely different approach to, there's nothing to fight for at home unless she's going to fight with you, and then you still have a problem, right? So there's a natural yin yang to us. We'll fight all day, we come home to relax, and we charge our batteries so we could do it again the next day. Do you know what I mean? So the feminine has typically one world. Now that's not 100%, nothing's 100%, but the feminine typically has, we have two worlds out there in here. You have the same connectivity need all the time. I'll give you an example. It's not sexy and you'll recognize it, but it's men. Men know this really well, right? You work with a woman, right? And whether it's an associate, whatever, calls you on the phone or walks into your office. Hey, John, how's your week going? Fine. Right. First she's interrupting, typically, because single focused man always thinking about something, doing something. Hey, John, how's it going? Fine. Like he's like, we're at work. Work is about producing, right? So how was the weekend? Great. How was it on Johnny? I know we had a game. It was fine. Right. You end up getting the one word answer because to a woman, typically, you can't just go, could you give me that document by 4 today? Without all the padding of connectivity and loving and kindness, and it would be rude. It makes us crazy at work. Get to the freaking point. Now, that's your one world. You have to connect first. You have to connect
Mhm.
first. You have to connect first. And you connect by talking. And we're like, why are you talking to me, my family? I'm at work. What do you want? See, now, so you have two different men
Mhm.
in action. So this guy is going to be impatient because this is not a place for connection. This is a place for work. What do you want? Right? But get me at home, and, in a place where I'm in that space, there's no results. I'm not a warrior anymore, right? I'm the guy recovering. Different
Mhm.
conversation. So we have two words, you have one word. This is just nature. It's not my opinion. This is how it goes. But when you understand all these differences, you get to work with them. I'll give you an example that's really not sexy. So I always have my own business, always, right? 12-hour shifts. But I'm always the boss. So sometimes I get out of myself some whatever. And so I remember this one morning, it's happened a bunch of times, but this one went to hell. And 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 that's before I understood these dynamics, right? So we get up early, me and my wife, and all of a sudden we're making love. Fantastic. Spur of the moment, right? I'm an hour late for work. I don't care. I'm the boss. I called in and says, open the shop because I'll be late. I'm not going to tell you why, but whatever. So connectivity, oxytocin for the ladies, oxytocin for me, but more dopamine than oxytocin chemically in lovemaking, right? So now she's all gooey, right? Gooey with oxytocin, and oh, it's so connected. It's so, and I leave the door, and she's like trying to kiss me out. Like she doesn't want to make me go. Like I gotta go. All right. So it was fantastic. It was beautiful. It was intimate. It was all the stuff that we both want. I get in the car, right? I get to work. And about 3 hours later, she's still in that oozy oxytocin. I can't believe it was so, I was like, like lovey, lovey, dovey, dovey, right? So she's compelled to talk to me, to tell me, whatever, to connect with me, talking, right? Phone rings. Yeah. Hi, babe. Hey, how's your day going? Fine. Now her feelings are hurt, right? I had a really good time this morning. Yeah, no, I know I was there. It was good. It was great. I have a customer in front of me. Can I go? Hurt her feelings. Warrior at work, daddy at home, lover at home. Right. So when you understand these things, you stop taking things personally. Like this, that's the owner's manual. The things you don't know that we hurt your feelings. When I teach ladies the owner's manual for men, get this, 50% of everything you take personally goes away. 50% of everything you take personal goes away. And you understand that things you don't take personally are the things that you should. Ah, so
Wow.
when you put that in place, it's a whole different life with men, and not only the men in your house, but your father, your brothers, the men you work with. Different machine in every way. The more you understand how that works, and vice versa, the smoother things are. My clients are unicorns in the world.
So I just want to reiterate to our listeners, this is
Yes,
science and research based type
not
of
my opinion.
conversations.
All
It's
of it.
not
All of it.
solely your opinion, though you believe it and you see
Well,
that
I
it's
live it, and
truth.
I also live it. I live it
Right.
every day of my life. I have I mean, I have everything. I live
Hmm.
it. I know how this
Hmm.
works. She knows how it works, and we know how to flex with it and, go in
Right.
between. I'm just saying.
But it's an unlearning for especially the feminine energy with the things that you're talking about.
Right.
And that's why I just reiterated like this is a research science based type of approach.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what you're
Yep.
living and teaching that is true, what you've seen to be true. So, but it's like anything else that you've been ingrained or, taught to believe
Yep.
and embrace that isn't working and you're not quite sure why it's not working because this is what everybody said to do. This is what
Right.
everybody said you were supposed to live, right?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, science-based, research-based, results-based.
Yeah. And like five masters who've done their own work, and like they all haven't combined each 30 years of experience in that
Mhm.
with mine on top. So how many years is that of knowledge and research and data and
Right.
interviews, right? So again, I could back it all up. Whether
Hmm.
we talk about chemistry, anthropology,
But at
right?
the end of the day, aside from like the factual part of it, I mean, if somebody can sit and be open enough to receive the things that you're saying, um, even myself sitting here, like you can connect with that feels right.
I'm going to say this. I have the occasional feminists who just want to hate me. They want to hate me because they think I'm misogynistic. You want us back to the 50s, barefoot, should we dumb it down for you boys? I'm like, really? Really? I said none of that.
It's not
That's
about
none at all.
intelligence.
Well, but not only that, but they think, we should dumb it down for you guys' egos, right? I'm like, oh, I get so mad because it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to understand what you're dealing with on both sides, right? So my favorite thing is I'll get a feminist who really wants to hate me and put me down and call me names and misogynistic. I'm a pig, and you want us back barefoot and pregnant. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I'm actually on your side. If you allow me to explain to you, right, some of these dynamics and these um, dynamics, and then so I'll go into like, okay, some of the stuff I did today, because boom. And my favorite thing, they want to hate me, and they're like this. Hmm. Never thought about it that way because it resonates, right? I'm teaching
Hmm.
nature. It resonates. It's in your body, the energy, right? And I mean, to get them to stop talking and try to fight with me, and go, never thought about it before. This way. I'm like, there you go. Think about it more. And when you're done with that, I'll give you more. Come and learn. because it resonates from, if you're normal, I want to
And it
say.
starts to feel easy to understand. I feel like most other things, if you stop resisting against the things that are natural for you,
Yep.
then it
Yep.
probably doesn't feel so hard. And when you allow yourself to, like, again, lessen that grip on what is artificial for you,
Hmm.
it just becomes more fluid,
Right. And
all the
again,
things that you're experiencing.
exactly. So it's all the ladies that come at me, all of them, right? Come at me with, I don't understand. I'm strong, independent, powerful. I have my own house, blah, 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 right? I make six figures, right? And how come nobody? I'm like, that's not what men want at all. It's not what men want at all. Like women now value themselves for the things they value in men: power, money, resources, right? Status. That's
Mhm.
what women look in men because that makes a good provider. So women have been trained to be like men and like pride themselves in the things that they look up forward in men, they look up to, not realizing that's not at all what men want. Men don't care about your career. It's interesting because it's part of your world, like my wife's ballerina world, right? It's interesting. I go to the shows and stuff, but like that's her world. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so we don't care about your money. We don't care about your degrees. We don't care about your sweat, your balls, right? Because what happens is, and I'm going to say it this crass, but when you're stuck in your masculine, you pride yourself in when you're producing all masculine. And my sister's one of those, by the way. And she constantly is throwing her balls in everyone's face. I'm an investor for a second. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nobody's asking you. Like she's just constantly, so masculine women are constantly trying to prove that they're valuable, that they're capable. We know all this, but you think that makes you valuable to men, and masculine men aren't interested in that. The feminine men will be all over it because you're gonna work like a dog when he's spooning the dogs on the couch, smoking a joint because he's the girl. There's a yin yang there, right? But masculine men aren't interested in that. So, like, if you want companionship, whether you want kids or not, if you want marriage, kids, and companionship, depending on your age, you got to line back up with nature. Masculine men aren't interested in masculine energy women. Masculine men are only attracted to feminine warmth, radiance of the feminine energy. So a lot of you guys, we call it ego dystonic, right? A woman living in a masculine primarily is ego dystonic. It won't work. It'll cost you. It'll cost you. Nature will bite you in the butt. And men who are ego dystonic, soft, feminine, don't lead in, don't make money, expect women to take care of them. Not a good life, right? So my clients come at me with like, okay, I've done everything my mother, the culture, blah, 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 and I'm miserable. And I saw you what you did with Susie, my friend, and she's like, men are after her now, and she's dating like a fool. I'm like, I want some of that. I want some of that. I'm like, all right, sign here. Because you just have to learn it and practice it, by the way, because it's not about knowledge necessarily.
I think it's
Excuse
really
me.
eye-opening, what you described a couple times in this conversation about like those high power boss woman type of mentality women who are attracting the feminine
Man,
energy
yep.
in men, and
Nature,
how, yeah, and how
nature,
that ends up
nature.
being it, it it ends up being a completely frustrating situation, because it's like they're attracting exactly what they don't want. They're attracting what they want, like what they should be giving of themselves, right? Or
Yes,
what
you
is a
get it.
natural
You
part
get
of
it.
themselves.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something you said earlier. We talked about that idea of feeling safe and how
Yeah.
important that is. But I also feel like there's another side to that when you're having a safe feeling or a connective feeling with like for myself, if I had that feeling with a man who has more feminine energy, and women feel like they're attracted to that, or like that's what they want initially
Right,
because like,
right,
oh,
right.
he gets what I'm talking about, he knows what I'm
Yeah.
saying, or he relates to that feeling kind of thing. But in the walls of a relationship, so to speak, that doesn't work, right? It's a
It, co-
different
it,
kind of
co- it,
safety.
well, it's not okay. So that whole idea that women want nice guys,
Or why
right?
they
Like
end up
that.
in the friend zone, I guess, is the other way to look at
Well,
that. This is kind of why.
that's it. So they either end up in the friend zone. Some women will marry a guy like this, right? Because he's sweet and he's nice and he's talkative, and they say stuff to me like, "I knew they exist, guys who talk." I'm like, masculinity tends to be pretty stoic, right? We have to talk, but we don't talk like girls. We don't talk as much as girls, right? And so there's always left-handed men, always also a different brain that talk more like women. I'm not gonna go there, but there's all these things in place. So some feminine men and left-handed men tend to be more like girls. They're sweeter. They're they talk more. They're more vulnerable. They're more open. They're more feminine. And women will say, finally, I knew they existed, and 6 to 9 months later, it's just what the hell happened to my life? Because
Mhm.
he won't lead, he won't support. Typically, struggles with his own his own life as they're unstable financially and emotionally. Those are the toxic, dangerous ones, by the way. Those are the ones you want to avoid. These are the ones that the culture says men are. The boys are dangerous and toxic, unstable. They're feminine. They can't control their emotions. Men pride themselves in controlling their emotions. So masculinity is not toxic. It's the lack of masculinity in men that is toxic. So you want a nice guy all day long, but either he's going to get in the friend zone because you can't respect them, or eventually you're going to want that dude to get the hell off the couch, your couch, and get a life and support you. And so you lose respect for him one way or the other. That does not work. That
Mhm.
doesn't work. I mean, like it won't last as opposed to what's more traditional, right? And again, there's all the flex in between. What I'm talking about is what lines up with nature to build a relationship with a modern twist, with all the variations of the world we live in. My wife and I negotiate all this stuff, and the stuff that she does that would be considered more masculine, and stuff that I do that we consider more feminine, but we negotiate all that. I don't really want to do this. You want to take it on? Sure, I'll do it. I don't mind. If you do this, I'll do this. You know what I mean? And so it's the yin yangs in place, plus all the dealings in between that we find appropriate for our lifestyle and the kids. It's not that hard, but you have to understand, again, what you're dancing with on the other side.
The more we talk, Andrew, the more this makes sense to me. I'll just
I
say
love
that.
it. I love
So
it. And by
let's
the way,
talk
no,
about. Mhm.
go ahead, go ahead. No, I was gonna say about safety. Like one things that men don't know, men do not know that women have that safety thing going all the time. Problem
Mhm.
number one, they don't know. Owner's manual. If a woman doesn't feel safe, nothing is ever going to happen with her. What do you mean? So, because
Mhm.
men, we don't have a safety awareness. You have 4 layers of safety you need to be in your feminine, and most of you in our culture only have access to two. This is why you're stressed out and wigged out and all that stuff. You can't let go, right? So, because men have no sense of it. Like we don't run to the car at night when it's dark. We're not afraid of staircases, elevators, and parking lots ever. Not even a little bit. Even men at war aren't really afraid of dying as much as they're afraid of not being there for their families. Completely different machine. So safety we don't understand. I have to teach them to the guys. If she doesn't feel safe, the guy I told you about earlier, right? She feels taken for taken for granted that you don't connect. She feels unsafe. She turns on you, right? So
Mhm.
that's a huge one. The 4 layers of safety. Most ladies in our culture are living 2 out of 4, and that's not enough to be a feminine woman. But you don't even know that, and we don't even know that. It has to be taught. You have to understand it to manage it for yourself, and put the corrections in understanding it. And I teach the men. And when they get it, they go, "Oh, wow, that's kind of crazy." I go, "I know. They're not like us." Wow, okay. That's why that's what happened with that girl.
Mhm.
Guy goes on a date, and on the way out, they're in New York City, so they're going two different directions. And you let her walk to the subway on her own. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, what kind of dumbass are you in New York City? This girl you spent 2 hours with, you're gonna not walk her to the subway. Well, I was going the other way. I'm like, oh, we have to talk, you dumbass, right? Like, because masculinity is naturally gentlemanly, especially when we come to the ladies. But these guys, no male role models. I thought that was all about them, right? Sort of more soft, and well, I'm going that way, so I don't feel like going that way. That's what they say. Ridiculous.
Mm.
That's not man. So how do you pull the man? How do you recognize them, right? Because in my world, you have to recognize boys, guys, men, and gentlemen. The boys are the ones that are dangerous and toxic. So the moment you know how they show up, what they look like, what they say, because you can tell in a minute, one date, you know what you're dealing with, if you know what to look for. Then you could never feel unsafe. You can never get on a date and sort of crossing your fingers. I hope he's a good guy. Forget all that shit. If you know what to listen to, you go like this. Let's just see who he is, because he's going to reveal it by the things that he says and his action, if you know what to look for. And all of a sudden, as a woman in the world looking for masculine men who wants to provide and protect, you know what to look for energetically. And they're very predictable, all four, by the way. It's a different, when you get that, you understand that you don't have to be afraid of men anymore. You'll know how to like let go of the losers and attract the man, and you'll recognize them energetically. And it's so again, it's not that hard.
How do we take what you are teaching
Mm.
with your clients and recalibrate our culture?
Well, that is my job. So my God mission is to teach this to the masses. So
Mhm.
I'm busy, right? I do small groups, one-on-ones, and blah blah, and workshops, and I speak. But the big God mission is to teach this to the masses. And the reason I do 3, 4 podcasts a week is I'm spreading the waves. There is hope, right? We ladies, there is hope. You can build a relationship, you know, in this modern times. Men, there is hope, right? There's bring our ladies back to the way we like them on some level, right? To understand and adjust and attract what we want. Um, but you know, and I do this. I do podcasts for that reason, just to spread the hope and eventually want to teach this. The mission is to teach this to the masses because everyone's miserable. It should work. It should be better. It's a shit show. It's the worst. You know what I mean? So thank you for, I'm a disruptor, but also you're a disruptor. Anybody with a podcast is bringing different points of views, ideas, think to think about or rethink. So thank you for helping me be a disruptor in the world and kind of tear down what doesn't work. If nothing else, so I have a sense of, oh, that's what that was, right? So um, it's the work. It's the work.
Well,
So
I
if
feel like there's so much that we just don't know. You know, you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. And when you're going against what everybody is telling you you should do, it can seem crazy at first.
it is. It is. It actually kind of is. You know what I mean? But like I said, the way I do it, right, is for a woman who's a masculine who cannot let go of control of anything, right, which is what kills them. That's what burns you out and overwhelms you. So how do you then learn to become more vulnerable? Now, this is a soft journey. This is not a kick the door in. This is so you do take little steps into being vulnerable with even a girl in the beginning. Like, you know, instead of controlling everything, that you reveal some of your fears or concerns that are personal. Vulnerability is to be cultivated because it's terrifying if you can't trust and you know if you need to control everything, right? You're new masculine. So to get you back into your feminine is slowly learning how the goodies of vulnerability. And it's scary, but we do slowly until you realize all the goodies. I'll give you an example. Like I had one student who's like a big girl, big girl. She's tall, she's big, whatever. So she says to me, guys don't like big girls. I'm like, that's ridiculous. This men get like all kinds of things. Like, you know, like it's ridiculous. That's not true. I know that's what the media is telling you, but that's not it. So I says, what if we just put that down for a week? Like forget that belief for a minute for this week. Go out in the world, smile, look men in the eyes. See what happens. A week later she comes back. I go, how'd it go? She goes, I got a date. And of course, you got a date because you were feminine and looking and smiling. Like, that's how you do it in the world. That's step one. But she's like, I'm terrified. I haven't been on a date in a long, long time. I'm afraid I'm putting my foot in it. I'm going to be too nervous, blah, 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 blah. I go, I get that. I get it. I said, tell him. Uh, why would I do this? I go, to release it. What? I go, Tell them. So sure enough, they go to the dating picture, blah, blah, blah. They get at the table and they sit down and, for men, it's funny until we sit down and all the logistic things in place from parking the car to getting you in your seat were in our heads. And then as we sit down, we usually go and they make eye contact. Oh, now he's in the house. Now he's present. And so, how was your day? She goes, good. She says, but I have to tell you, I'm really, really, really nervous. And he's looking at her. She goes, I haven't had a date in a long, long time. I'm afraid I'm going to put my foot in it. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. You think I'm a dork. I'm just telling you, I'm really nervous. And she goes, the moment she said it, it released, which is fact. Call out your fears and it releases. Now get the magic here. Are you ready? So as he takes that in, and she kind of, oh, I said it. He goes, wow, thank you for saying this. It's been a while for me too, and I'm really, really, really nervous, just like you. I'm afraid I'm gonna mess this up, and you think I'm a dork. No, yeah. Instant moment, first moment of intimacy with a complete stranger. That's what vulnerability does. It pulls us in. Typically, whether you're with a man or with a woman, but if you don't learn to be vulnerable with men, we can't attach to you emotionally. That's how huge it is. So if you're stuck in controlling everything, it may cost you everything. And so it's a journey, slowly understanding. And my world, just so you know, ladies, is a true boss is a girl who can do both. You can be powerful at work and do all this stuff and have your balls out all day long. That's beautiful. But the way I say it is leave your balls at work. And as you recultivated your femininity, be a woman in the world. Be a radiant, loving, warm, magnetic energy and watch what happens to your life. Completely different. Men will see you, men will smile, men will even talk to you. Women will be nicer to you. Kids will smile and dogs come sniffing. It's amazing. Different life. Just when you tune in your energy. So it's be able to do both is the true magic, but it takes a little flex, right? That's
For
all.
sure.
It's not that hard. It's still not that hard. Like every one of my clients will say to me, God, it's so easy. When you get it, nobody's ever. I wish I met you 20 years ago. That's the good
That
news.
example you just shared at the table with the new couple on the
Yeah,
first date, would I be correct in understanding that the moment he was activated by that vulnerability? I think that's what you were describing a moment ago.
absolutely.
It was like that turned
This
on his instinct to
intimacy.
protect and to be just the strength in that moment for her. And that spoke to him.
Yep. I mean, that's how we connect to you emotionally. The same way, I'm going to say this again, trigger warning is just the data, right? If you don't respect a man first, he can never cherish you. So I always say, ladies, you have to respect him first. Just respect him. Just this is who he is. Be okay with that until there's a deal breaker, whatever. But there's no chance of anything until you respect him first. Do you understand? Vulnerability has to be started by the feminine because men won't do it on their own. He was never gonna say, "Oh, by the way, I'm really nervous at it." He's just trying to hold it
Mm-hmm.
together and be the man. But the moment she warmed up and told him the truth about what was happening, and he felt her because she was nervous. But as she said, you know what I mean? He saw it. I'm sure he had a sense of it going, making all the way, his way to the restaurant. But it's like, oh, I'm feeling the same thing. So intimacy, instant intimacy from a little moment of vulnerability. And again, the more you do this, the more people connect, attach emotionally to you, men especially, but women too.
And would you say that there is a difference in, just to clarify too, respecting the man first doesn't necessarily mean respecting shitty behavior?
No, 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 no. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Like for
Is
most men, respect is, like, this is who I am. Don't try to change me.
Mhm.
Don't correct me. Don't mother me, right? Like, so women have a bad habit of trying to change men, right? That's instant disrespect, So stuff like stupid stuff, even on the first date, you know, I need you to open my door. Fuck that. As opposed to, if you're an effeminate, that's commanding. That's when men don't respond to command, especially for the feminine. Do not respond to commanding energy, demanding energy, right? So instead of, I need you to open my door, right? Which is making him feel like a little bitch, because now you're controlling him. Men do not respond to that at all. The other way to do it would be, I just love a gentleman who likes to open my door. He's going to jump out of the car to open your door. It's an invitation as opposed to a command. Not that hard. English. You have to know what works, and it'll explain everything that did not work, that confused you and hurt your feelings, and thought, "What a jerk." Oh, maybe it was you. Oh shit. Just saying. Oops. I could do this all day long.
It makes a lot of sense, Andre. And again, everything that you're describing leaves me more curious. This has been an
Good.
absolutely
Good.
enchanting conversation. I'll say that. It's been absolutely interesting to hear you just describe everything and really bring to light something that is hard to talk about in any other setting. I feel like it's because it becomes confrontational. Um,
Yep. Can be for sure.
so tell us what it is for you, the way you're pouring out into the world via podcasts, you're showing up coaching, and
Yep.
that's the best. So tell our listeners, how do we connect with you outside of this space
Okay.
to unpack our own journeys with this?
So, like I said, what the mission needs to be. This is the big mission. It's gonna take a minute, right? Like I'm busy, but masses, teaching the masses. Oprah big. Gonna take a minute, right? That's the calling. That's the God calling. This is like we have to undo what's out there because when you destroy family system, you destroy culture. That's what's happening. So back to, healthy relationship for healthy families to raise healthy kids. We could have their own healthy, families to raise healthy kids. We have to go back to what works. It's more traditional in a modern twist. So like, that's the big mission, right? So I'm looking for more podcasts. I'm looking for stages. I'm looking for a channel, whether it's a podcast, daily podcast with this material to teach the masses, a TV show. I like a podcast better than TV show. But I'm waiting. I'm maybe naive, but I know I do this because eventually I think somebody's going to hear me out and say, "Dude, we have to put this guy on TV." Right? This because that's where I'm going. I constantly set my intentions daily. Let somebody find me and help me put this out there. So that's the God mission. Meanwhile, for the listeners, you can go to my website, projectequinox.net. Equinox, you get it? The perfect balance between day and night. I thought it was clever, masculine. Anyway. Or Google my name, Andre Paradis, or Project Equinox. You'll find everything that I've done. The website has a bunch of stuff. You can spend the day listening and reading stuff. But I also have two gifts for you listeners, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
Because I appreciate people showing up and I want to gift them something. So I notice this in podcasting, as much as I do, there's two types of listeners that I notice. The listeners who, you know, start understanding what's that masculine and feminine thing that I keep hearing about, right? They're information seekers, right? They're getting curious about this whole thing and then poking in, right? So I let the viewers qualify themselves in whichever category. But if you're an information seeker who want to poke around at what's going on and how does that work and what's this all about, masculine and feminine stuff, I have a gift for you. Hey, I'm going to send you directly to my personal email. If you go to Andre, Andre, coaching, the word coaching, COACHING, the number one, at Gmail, and in the subject box, you write Irresistible Book. For you listeners who email me, I will send you a copy of this workbook called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. It's a gift. I sell it on my website. I will give it to you so you can start understanding. This is my work with men. This is men talking. Again, it's not me. It's not my opinion. It's my work of intense work with men. This is men saying the five things they find irresistible in women. And it's not your hair color, and it's not your butt. It's none of that. It's energy. How do you show up that they hook onto you? They find it irresistible. Anyway, so it's a workbook. It's 30 pages. You get to write it inside. I'll send you digitally. You have to print it for you ladies. Information seekers, come and get it. The other type of listeners I notice are people who we talked about this, right? It resonates. They go, oh, this dude's got something. Oh, I think he can help me, right? They go. So these are people that are a little bit more ballsy. So if you're an action taker, I call it, andrecoaching1 at Gmail, in the subject box, just write talk now. And I'll send you a link to my calendar. You'll find a space that's open. We'll talk for about an hour and we'll discuss this is who I am. I'll talk to you just the same way I'm talking to you now. We'll figure out, what's the pattern, what it is that you keep producing that hurts you or keeps you from living the life that you want. In 15 minutes, we'll go back to childhood and figure out where the wheels come off. It's that quick, right? What happened then? Oh, shit. That's what. Oh, so when you understand that you're not broken, because a lot of people, especially the ladies, come at me with, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. I go, no, no, no. You're a product of your past. So when you get that, then you're not broken, right? So, and if we could fix that, clean that up, what's the dream life that you're looking for? And then we'll discuss, if you want companionship or if you, depending on your age, if you want kids and a husband and you want to step in, there's different ways you can step in and we'll talk about that. But that call alone for some people, when they understand they're not broken, is completely liberating. It changes their lives. Others will step right in. So it's an offer, no pressure. I'm giving you my time that I get paid for. But if you're curious and you really want to have a conversation, come and get it. And if you want both gifts, I'll give you both gifts. And if you want more gifts, I have more freebies that I distribute as needed. And if you want to ask me a question or tell me I'm full of crap, I'm not. Bring it. That's the
Well, that
word.
is incredibly generous. Thank you for just offering that to our listeners. And I will say this conversation absolutely has my attention.
Nice.
And no doubt every other listener that is hearing us today is feeling the same
Hopefully.
way. What do you
Hopefully.
want to leave our listeners thinking about?
My warning, if it's a warning, but what I go to is think for yourselves. Forget your mother who made terrible choices. Forget your dad who said you're only valuable if you produce, because that happens a lot too, right? Dad will raise their daughters to be strong and powerful because it's always funny to me because it shows me that the kind of guy he used to be when he's younger. You get it? Trying to protect women from a man like him.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic as hell, right? Mom who's gonna, pollute your world with men. You can't trust men because she made poor choices. Toxic as hell, right? School teachers who teach you what's not normal, toxic as hell. So I always say, think for yourselves. Like my assistant, right? She's 28 years old. She wants traditional life. Shut the hell up and go find the traditional life. You know what I mean? They don't. So I always say, think for yourself. You want to be a boss, babe? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Right? But if you want to be a traditional woman, lean into that. Forget the culture. It's hard to do. It's hard to do because it's a tidal wave. It's everyone. So don't tell your friends, right? Don't tell your teachers or your mother who's going to tell you you're crazy because women that are happy actually handle this and line up with their essence and understand how how to bring men forward instinctively to provide, protect, cherish, give support. I mean, I have story after story after story about this. This is not that hard, but you have to step in. My I don't know if you know this, but I also officiate weddings. So some of my clients, I married them myself. I did two last summer. I mean, that's an instant testimonial, right? So I am showing off. I'm totally showing off, but come and get it. Come and poke around. There's a bunch of ways to start to learn this: small, medium, large, extra large, tiny, right? But I always say do something. Start the discovery because nothing out there is going to help you. Nothing out there. Most everything that's out there is going to keep you single and confused. It's terrible. That is toxic. The culture is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
But we all want the same thing. Love relationships, right? Do you understand? Well, for both men and women, statistics again, right? For both men and women, the quality of our lives is dictated by the quality of our relationships, the love dynamics. I'm in Los Angeles, right? People with a ton of money who can't get their love lives right feel like failures and losers, and they're miserable. Men and women. So that's a primary marker of a good life. Let's go. Let's go. It's your lives. What else do you have to do all day to get this stuff in line so you have the life that you want? And you may not be sure what it looks like because of all the bad thinking that was pushed into you. If you're that girl, if you're that guy, Step up. And again, I always say is people who show up, who lean in, who produce the life that they want in every aspect. I'm in the leadership field. If you want that handle, come and see me. If you want financial advice, go to financial advisors. You're gonna make a ton of money. If you want to lose weight, get yourself a trainer, and I did dietitian, right? Like the people who step up are the ones who succeed in life, whichever category. That's what I want to say.
This has been beautiful. Thank you so much for just reminding us what it is that we want, even when we don't realize it or when we are forgetting how to find our way to that. I think that's really what it is. This is an amazing, amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Anytime at all.
I would love to know what you thought about this one. How did you feel about the things that you heard today? I feel like it answers a lot of questions for me, if I'm honest. It carries a lot of generational awareness for me. Raised by a single mother whose father was around sporadically at best, it's not difficult for me to understand why my mindset and beliefs were shaped like they were. Like all other generational traumas or patterns that aren't serving us, this one needs some attention. If what Andre says is true, we must be willing to change our way of thinking, of living, if we are to achieve the dance we want in life. If you've loved this conversation, stay tuned. We're expanding and answering your questions in an upcoming Instagram Live on July 1st. Follow both Andre and What's on Your Plate podcast on Instagram to catch the encore. Links to Andre's free gifts, website, and socials are all in the show notes. And if you want to make sure that you never miss an episode of What's on Your Plate podcast, join the mailing list. It's also linked in the show notes. We would love for you to comment, to review, to share this episode, like it. Share it with friends and family. Doing so helps keep conversations like this coming. See you again next time, friends.